Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this season. How is everyone doing? Believe you are doing very well. We are. I am been galvanizing everywhere. I'm back home now to basis. And Professor Mimi doesn't want me to say I'm selling my Gary, but I am. It's good to good to be here. So patronize me, please. Prof, how have you been? Mhm.
I have been good. It's been an interesting time. I'm still yet not over my birthday. Then yesterday I had all the guests for a farewell for my elder brother who's been visiting as well from the UK.
Mm.
And just taking things a little bit easy as well. But it's been good. And all of you, your support, your presence has been wonderful.
Back to back. You've been calling us together for an amazing period at yours and also at the event. Your house party is almost better than the event party. Yeah. But seriously, I asked the question though, how do you, on a more serious note, people ask me how do I manage, but how do you manage?
Um, I think one thing
Seriously.
about me is that I'm organized when it comes to my calendar. I put things in my calendar, but when I have to do something, I actually think through it. It may not seem that way. That I think that's why I run and I go for walks because then I compartment it, I structure it in my mind, then I simply execute it. So somebody
Wow.
may see me just doing it, but I've actually been working through it, really processing it within myself in my own mind. But I think the key to success is just, I love hosting people and I love having events, whether it's at home or elsewhere. Home always for certain gatherings and personal stuff. And I just think I like nice stuff. I like good food. I like quality, literally. But I've also got amazing group of friends, people like you, long-term friends, 20 years, 15 years, 10 years. So they know me. So there's really no stress. And for me, because I love doing what I do, right? So it's no
Mm,
pressure and,
I
you
agree.
know, authentic.
Mm. I
I'm not
agree.
going to,
I agree.
yeah,
100% actually. That's the thing. When you plan, you put your brain in that space that I have to do this. You
yeah,
plan it over time and then you execute it. And it's not bothersome then. And exactly what I do as well. Exactly what
absolutely. You
so
do the same.
I agree.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm.
And like yesterday, it was like literally a thank you to my brother. He's the eldest of my family. He's been here now with me for just over 3 weeks, came specifically
Omonile.
to celebrate me,
It's
celebrate my
Omonile.
birthday. Eh?
Omonile
Yes.
in Lagos.
I don't know any of but because he's got, you people spoke in the language, but I've got no idea what it all means. But
Yeah.
at the same time, so it was like, okay, thank you so much for coming. Thanks for celebrating me. And thanks for celebrating my son as well for his special birthday. So let's celebrate you as well. And just,
Yeah.
I put it together in 3 days or 4 days that I sent everybody a message, just a few people to say,
Wow.
hey, come around and let's just have fun and all of that. But because I'm always organized, as you know,
Mm,
people, I'm not saying that people should strive for perfection out there, but I just think we should live an organized life, then every other thing
mm,
is easy, and then you are not putting yourself out there. And if you feel
mm.
like you don't want to do something from your heart, don't do it because you
Yeah,
become stressful.
it's true.
Yeah.
No, good brother. We love your brother. We enjoy this company. Such a good one. It's really good when you have a sibling that really got you. He's your
Yeah.
elder brother, but he just really loves you. And I like the way he's so comfortable at the house. He's relaxed and it's cool and chill. Yeah, enviable,
we,
enviable.
we get that from our parents, right? Especially
Yeah,
my dad. You did,
wow.
friends who have met, you met my dad, right?
I
A
met
few
your dad.
times.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
we
mm,
real, and it's like my kids look at certain discussions we have, like, my God, look at the sibling rivalries
mhm,
coming through. Then Tracy
mm,
Kate at one point asks, Mommy, how many years is uncle older than you? And I'm like, maybe some
10.
years. And then they looked at me and then she said nothing.
I know. And you're still very comfortable around him. You talk together. It's beautiful. I
Yeah,
had the
thank
same
you.
relationship with my brother, that my elder brother that I lost. But yeah, it is well.
Yeah,
Today's
it is
topic,
well.
let us.
Yes.
It's very sensitive. Suicidal. Actually, it's not a suicidal tendency. It's to suicide, and not an ideation. It's actually an action, and there's backed up statistics which people don't talk a lot about it. It's very, I don't know, it's a very hardcore. Um yeah, I still cannot wrap my head around stuff like this. But Miss Greatness is she's actually in this space at the moment. She said she's counseling few people from Namibia offshore that are in this space, and it's very common. And I did research it, and actually got to know that it's really a thing that men are doing. This thing is happening to them. For lack of language, I don't know. Yeah, so I personally, I mean, I heard once in my family, actually, that a kid committed suicide, but it was never spoken about, no conversation. It was so heavy that nobody went back to it. So to today, I didn't know what happened, and the child was under 18. Under 18. She lived with mom and dad at home, and she did it. And that's all that I heard personally close home. Otherwise, it's a bit, you know, foreign to me. I don't know the answer. I know I heard one person said something that she's got that intent before as well, but that's it. I don't know much about this, and I just want us to talk about what could lead people there, and possible, because I think we should keep talking about it. If it's happening, we really should talk so it doesn't keep happening. The conversation might be able to help one or two people, and thank God to that. Prof, do
Yeah,
you
it's really a very sensitive topic. And somebody like me in public health, global health, it is
true?
something that is close
That's true.
to the public sphere, but also in terms of research. But in my work and in the communities that I am connected to, both in Australia and, of course, overseas,
Hmm.
um, can I say suicide remains a very taboo subject across African communities and most migrant communities, Asian communities, etc. But let's just come back home and look at some statistics here in Australia, right? When you think about suicide, about 3,200 men on average, 3,200 first people die of suicide in this country every year. That is a significant number. That's
Hmm.
about 12 in every 100,000. All right. But then when you then break that down within different groups, and when I talk about different groups, I'm talking about different communities, for example, the
Hmm.
statistics again will be skewed because there are some population groups, for example, our local indigenous communities, that there is overrepresentation of suicide, more so in men, with comparatively or relative to their population overall. And then when you look at the African communities as well, and as somebody who's participated and attended or listened to people talk about the funerals that they've had to go to as a result, and these are the ones that we know. These are the discussions that people actually have. There are those that there's still a lot of silence I think a couple of weeks ago, I belong to one of the global groups, and it is a very high profile group. And somebody who was of very, very, very high political power killed himself in Europe. I don't want, because it's been in the papers, I don't want to, because, for their own privacy and their family, etc. They killed themselves, and it was planned. The reason we say it was planned, because he actually booked a hotel where he had to commit the act, and then he jumped through the window. So he really thought about it, he planned about it. Then in course of discussion with one
I
of the
think I
friends,
I think I read that. I
in
read
terms
that.
of the having discussions with some of the people who knew him personally, I didn't know him personally. She was then highlighting another family member who, on his way to commit suicide, literally called the wife to say, "Hey, I'm on my way to this, come and get my body." And the wife quickly acted, but they also had the resources to use a private jet to be able to get to where this guy was going, and they saved him. And when he looks back now, he talks about his experience and the demons that were within him at the time. And we can go on and on. There are so many examples where there's a lot of silence. And let's just come back home to Australia and really look at what is going on. What are the causes? Because we need
Hmm.
to understand the causes in order to solve the problem. And I think when we think about the causes of suicide, it is not just one thing. Most often than not, that is that when the person has reached the breaking point. There are all these underlying issues. Family breakup can be a significant uh, cause of suicide for some men in particular. We've also got migrant status where people feel undervalued. And I think that's not being spoken enough, or we're not speaking about it enough. And why do I say that? Because I listen to people at the personal but also at the professional level. And when you've seen somebody go through the migration process, most often than not, a man then goes back to their home countries, get the wife or a woman, they come through, which I have issues in that space as well. But that's not the discussion for today.
Hmm.
When they've gone through that process and they've gone through having qualifications, then they cannot work in that area that they're qualified in, or they are unemployed and they don't see any meaningful progress. There's a difference between having a job and having a career. They may have some sort of a job to make ends meet, but they don't see a future in terms of building a career. And that normally that commences at the professional level, but it begins to affect their person in terms of how they perceive themselves, their confidence, and most often than not, it translates within this family circles if they don't have the right support as well. So you have those type of challenges amongst other things as well, just general life stresses, right? We're living in a very precarious world at the moment, right? And there are people who literally don't see a future. And we hear in Australia, you hear about the cost of living crisis. Young people, speak to the young people in their 20s and in their 30s. The conversations are the same. The cost of living crisis. They don't see how they're going to build a home for themselves. They don't see how they're going to support themselves. They don't see, because most often than not, if they don't have the social and the family support networks, it can be challenging. So when we think about men in particular, they don't talk to others. Women, they do. You and I and others, we have conversations. Most often than
Yeah.
not, they don't have those networks and those support services, because culturally, most often than not, and this is not about white culture, black culture, Asian culture. We know that generally men don't have this conversation. So we need to really be thinking about how do we encourage them, but really identifying those underlying causes and then addressing those underlying causes.
I'm glad you went there. The statistics you mentioned about Australia, 3,200 a year. But in South Africa in
Yeah,
2022, they had 13,774 men.
yeah,
13,000 to 3,000. So that is alarming.
Yeah.
And I think it was reduced very minimally. In England,
Yeah. Yeah.
17.4% of 100,000, 17.4% of 100,000 men in 1 year,
Yeah.
3 times the number of women.
Yeah.
This is not good. This is really not good. And that brings us to the fact that so it's not, um, however, when we say England, we didn't tell us which, because in England, different nationalities there. So they might be English, but where exactly are they from? Are they like Anglo, or African or whatever? We don't know. To be able to, I didn't go further to check what are the most population of the people that are participating in this act. So it's not majorly, it's not poverty that makes this thing happen, because you would think it's very hard. Let me not just generalize on that
Oh,
number.
no, absolutely. It is not about poverty or anything. That may play a role in some people, but suicide, like just like family violence, like domestic violence, does not have race, does not have a class, does not have a caste, does not have a religion or faith or whatever you want to identify with or whatever you identify with. So no, these issues are not specific to a particular culture, though some cultural groups may be overrepresented. They're not tied to how much money you have or you don't have. It's just certain groups of people may have access to more support than others. Hence, people may think about, oh, people in this particular socioeconomic group are facing more challenges in this space. That is not because there is overrepresentation. That's literally because they may not also be able to afford or seek the help that they deserve and that they need.
Mhm. And also, if maybe mental health issue, and because they say South Africa particularly is mostly one of the highest places that this happen statistically. When people are gone through some trauma and you don't recognize that this is mental health, like you said, and there's no avenue for them also, or maybe socioeconomic, ability to be able to look after themselves, or the stigma that is associated to mental illness. So people might end up saying, well, if I tell them I'm sick, nobody believes me, nobody trusts me, how I'm feeling, there's nowhere to look after myself. Maybe I should end it to there. So in
And
that
that is
case,
where that Yeah, that's
yeah.
where that desperation comes in, right? But also health literacy overall. What is health literacy overall, generally, in that society, within that community? Then add mental health issues. But
Mm,
then also think about the history of dislocation in South
yeah.
Africa. But
Mm,
also, further, I think there are more, the statistics in South Africa may also be more up to date compared to
it's
other
true.
communities.
Other
So we need
community.
to take all of those factors into
That's true.
consideration. But
That's
we also
true.
know that one of the highest causes of suicide is drugs, drug
Mm-hmm.
abuse,
Yeah.
be it
Me too.
prescription drugs that may cause hallucinations, schizophrenia, or illegal and illicit drug use.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about drugs, we have to also think about the spectrum and take everything into consideration. We also have and live in what we call a global village. I must say it is unfortunate that lots of people, what they learn and see on the internet from particular societies, tend to
Mm-hmm.
be from the fringes of society rather than from the mainstream
Mm-hmm.
of that society. And they may think that that is how people in that society live.
If
Then there's the whole, you copy what you see, and that is your perception of that society, which is not correct most often than not. So these are some of the things where we need to really educate our people, and we really need to empower people with knowledge how to address this, but really also thinking about using cultural approaches, because the
Yeah.
approach that may fit somebody of Asian background in Australia is not necessarily the approach that is going to be suitable for somebody of African background in Australia, or somebody who is of Caucasian background in Australia. So we really need to think about this from a holistic perspective. And I think we've got some good people doing a lot of work out there from the diverse Australian communities here, across the spectrum. And I think it is really important that we support the work, but really amplify the challenges that people are undergoing and encourage people to speak up. You know,
Yes.
you must have a circle of trusted friends. And if you can't trust people, then
Yes.
you shouldn't be hanging around with them.
Mm, exactly. I like that. So we're gonna just talk more, which is where you're tailoring to how to support people are in this situation that might be thinking, or in this space, community support. When somebody says there's something they're feeling somehow, we should not be taking it for granted and say, oh, you're a strong man now, you're from Africa, or you're from somewhere, you should be fine. Let us support them and direct them to wherever they can get help and remove the stigma that could be there, because it's not they're making. They did not cause this problem by themselves. Because like you mentioned something like migration can make you go crazy. It's like I often say, taking a white woman from here and dump them in somewhere in Nigeria. You'll be crazy. The culture is different, everything is different, the road, even the building, the power, the whatever. So it's the same thing. Migration is a major issue as well for people in the Western world. And like you said, sometimes the man comes first, get a job, bring the wife after 2 months, 1 month, when they are not even, they haven't established themselves. And then you go and bring the woman, and the woman start blaming you. It's like the children of Israel that God was trying to take to promised land. They were now getting really anxious. They start to blame the God that is trying to help them. So the woman will start to blame you, that you brought me here and I'm suffering here, not understanding the man it's just a roller coaster. So it's about talking. Our people, a lot of time also, they're too secretive. I hate this sort of thing. You're secretive, things that you're hiding from one or two people is going to be on internet tomorrow. The whole world is going to know about it. And I kept on saying, it's just a silly thing to think. You are going through a tremendous amount of pain and you're smiling, you're pretending, and tomorrow is going to be on the Facebook. Why don't you say it to one or two people that are close to you and stop pretending, so they might be able to help you? And then you don't go to the level of this suicidal, your partner don't go there, and your children, if you unfortunately you have children in this situation, I'm sorry to say, but it's rather unfortunate, because the children too will be traumatized, and it becomes a roller, catch 22. So let us be able to find one or two people to share. Don't say, I'm not going to talk, let me just start pretending for who? At the expense
I
of
think,
who?
yeah, I think that's a really important point when you look at it from that family perspective. Further, really thinking about the dynamics within the transcultural spaces
Mm,
that migrant families exist within, right? And when you
mm,
think about those transcultural spaces, most often than not, the parents have been raised in a particular way where there is silence on particular family issues. But then
mm.
the children are raised in a situation and within a context where they
The
say
freedom
what
of
they
speech.
think,
Mm-hmm,
right? But also
mm,
the society awards them and support them to make certain decisions that you would never even have dreamed of as a 20-year-old without the
mm-hmm.
permission of your parents in
Yeah.
most African and Asian families, right?
Yes.
But certain decisions, the 14 and the 15-year-olds are being supported to make those decisions, even though the long-term consequences may be significantly negative and may have significant impact on them.
on the
So
child.
I think it's about really navigating these spaces and ensuring that we have skilled professionals. But
Mm-hmm.
we've also had a situation where, when you look at what is going on in the last 5 years or so, recently it is about children blocking off parents and not having connection. And it's like, oh, that thing that happened 20 years ago, that's the reason why I don't want to talk. Because some counselor has said to them, this is
Mm,
this. They don't
yeah.
understand the nuances of it. They don't understand the cultural perspective. There is no understanding of anything. So it's almost like one size fits all. Then it's almost like a cookie cutter for
Wow.
everybody. And
Mm,
these are some of the things that must be considered. And you, the adult person, must be the adult person in that situation, because that child is being misled. You must,
right.
and if you cannot handle those situations personally, professionally, as well, for yourself and for that individual, it can be catastrophic. I
Hmm.
don't think people listen, because when you engage across different groups, a lot
Mm,
of things that some people are like, oh my God, this is horrible. I just take a step back and say, no,
mm,
on the scale of things,
mm,
that's nothing, because
mm.
this is what this person is going through, and this is what this other person is going through. And when you
Mm,
look at it from that perspective, you're going to be able to deal with a lot of issues without any stress, without any pressure at all. So you really always have to position yourself and reflect about
mm.
all this and the impact. And remember that suicide does not solve any problem. It
Yes,
leaves a
exactly.
lot of pain, and you are going to leave a lot of pain for the people who survive, be it your
Mm,
children, be it your wife or your husband, be
mm.
it your aunties, but your parents most often are not.
Yeah.
Just before I stop, I recall years ago there was a senior academic person that I respect so much, and their child, whom the family had all the hopes.
Mm,
This young person was promising, aspirational, and they called the family one day to just say they found him. And
God.
can you imagine the parents trying to process that when they had migrated with these children to Australia, and they
Mm,
lived in different states because the child had moved? You could see, I was at that
mm.
funeral, the
Wow.
pain. It's over a decade ago, and the pain that was in that room. And I think he was in his 20s back then. So there is
Mm,
something that we actually need to also do as parents to really
mm,
support the young men in particular. Girls, to
mhm.
an extent, there's a certain level of tenacity still.
That's
But
right.
your
Expect.
young men between the age of 15 to the age of probably 26, 27, you need to read for yourself the statistics.
Right.
One of the highest causes of death within those age group, if it is non-motor car accident, it is suicide, because young
Mm,
people are healthy people generally.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And don't live in those false relationships that lots of people live in, and they think that it is good for those kids. It is not. Just put
Mm,
everybody together, sit down, make decisions that everybody can see and that everybody can live with in one way or the
mm,
other. Because I think that is what is also pushing some of these young people, where
mm,
I joke, because I think one of the the interesting things of being in my type of interracial relationship is that you don't need to say anything, because the the Caucasian side, they will just say it anyway. So that's nothing that we're not gonna say anyway. So please look after yourselves, and also watch
mm.
out for your friends and your families members.
Yeah.
Really watch
It's true.
people and ask
I,
questions.
I like where you went to. That's very, very deep, especially with the counselor counseling the children and telling them, just massaging them and keep saying what they're doing is right and cause that,
Yeah,
what Damilola was saying here, relationship breakdown.
yeah,
And then the child pull himself or herself out for social isolation. And again, you're going to the world that is hostile anyway at workplace. um some of the things they say to the kids, even that, somebody was telling me the other day, really upset him badly, this guy. asking him, when did you come to Australia? Because it's dark. It's born here. And this thing got that boy on the wrong side terribly and said, I get this every time. Why did you get here? I was born here. I'm Australia. So isolation. One thing you said about the children, if, for example, the family is they've got children and the children is going left the way we've we just explained, these sort of things can break the man, because remember, these are the men that thought, I'm going to take my family to greener pasture where things are going to be better. They believe that they made the right decision. I was reading something today, a guy from England that said the worst thing that is done that he regretted in his life is to take his children to England, to take them to London. That's the worst thing that he regretted. He's crying now and said, I know people will be judging me, but I lost all the children. I regretted to have taken them. And that's a big topic we have to talk about at some stage, because you try everything possible to bring the children to the Western world where there's less trauma, there's less stress, and then you lose them again. So you lost altogether everything. And the men, you know how hard they think about things, and that could be the part of the. So education is a key from my end, and conversation amongst families. Okay, so as parents, you did what you thought. As a man, you did what you thought was good. And if something else happened and the result you expected is not what you got, the solution, as what Professor Mimi said, is not to kill yourself, because, like I said, that is double jeopardy. You wasted your life again upon that you're lost. So what's the benefit? We haven't gained anything by it. So let us start talking and encouraging each other. You can only lead the horse to the water. You can't push them. So a child or a family will always be. How about the people that you spend the whole of your life you brought abroad? Not even your children that you brought abroad, and they turn out to be the snake that want to bite you for just. So a whole lot of things will happen to you that will make you really upset, and then you start to second guess yourself. But suicide is not part of it. Family
Suicide
also
is never a solution
is
for
never.
you or for anybody. So
Mhm.
don't even think about it. If you have
Yeah.
suicidal ideation, speak to somebody. There is that one person
Mm.
that is going to listen to you. I like going for my walks, and I'll just add this. And one evening, as I went out, there was this woman. She was absolutely in tears, and she was on the phone. You
Hmm.
could see, like, she was so distraught. She was crying. She felt helpless. Nobody needed to tell you that she was helpless.
Hmm.
I literally stopped. She was from another
Oh,
cultural group, and I'm not gonna, because I don't want to stigmatize any group. But
yeah.
I stopped, and she stopped. I said, I no, I did not stop initially. I went around the lake. Then on my second, she was still on the phone crying, and I literally stopped, and I said, I just really can't walk past you again because something is seriously happening, and it's like the husband was cheating on her, and
Mm.
he had brought her, and it seems as if there was an existing relationship
Mm.
with some other person before she came in. And
Right.
it was
Mm.
almost like she had to accept the situation or
Mm.
otherwise. So even the boy's family were on him.
Mm.
And the poor girl, I think by the time she found out about it, this had been something that I don't know. But she was so
Mhm.
distraught that she was going to whatever. And I'm like, well, you
Mm.
have to you know what, he's gonna live, he's happy, so there's definitely something that he was with that person, came and found you and then went back, so you really need to think about your option. So we had a good discussion, and I sat there for an hour and just listened to her.
Thank God.
She literally needed to pour it
Wow.
out to somebody, and being like a stranger, right,
Mm.
was easier. And I
Yes.
just sat there and
Yeah.
listened to her. And then we
Mm.
came up with a solution, and then we exchanged numbers, and we kept in touch for a while. No
Mm.
longer in touch at the moment, but we kept in touch, and things worked out the way she wanted things to work out. So
Mm.
there is always somebody, maybe it's a stranger, Maybe it's
Mm,
that somebody walking past, that person
mm,
running past, that person in your church, in your mosque, in wherever community network, your workplace. There is just somebody who is going
mhm.
to listen to you.
Wow,
But
that's
always
such
remember,
a good one.
suicide
Thank
is
God.
not the solution.
Wow, that's such a good one because sometimes you miss the opportunity to be able to step into that person's world. Like you don't know what to do, what to say when you see people like that. But there's something that Australia celebrates. What months I forgot now that say, "Are you okay?"
Are you
It
okay
doesn't
there?
cost. Are you okay days, so it doesn't cost you anything to ask people if they're okay. And always please find someone. It could be a counselor, it could be a pastor, it could be a friend. Please share. And if you think they're going to laugh at you, wait, that person also is going to be in a situation that they're going to laugh at the person. They laugh at everybody. So if they laugh
Mm.
at you today, it's your turn tomorrow. Today, it's going to be somebody else's turn tomorrow. Don't you worry if people laugh at you. Okay. Their time is coming, but at least they might be able to save you in that time or to support you in that time so you don't make some uh, decision that will cost you your lifetime. Money is not everything, so try and create what makes you happy innermostly. What really makes you happy? Because if we start looking at somebody will make you happy, that's when this your children can't make you happy, your husband can't make you happy. All the happiness is temporal. You need to find a divine being, and you need to find a source inside of you, something that will make you happy, and just hold on to that. Don't rely on people. This is why, I mean, it's hard to say, but sometimes it becomes a pride. That's my child. I want her to be something. No, the children just come through you. You've tried all you could. Now they are not 10 years, they're not 5 years old. They can make this decision, and the decision is on them. Whatever they make is now on them. Don't take responsibility for things that you don't have control over. That's what I would say. And so you need to build that tough skin. They might think you're mean. If mean is going to save your mental wellness, save your life, then be mean. Let them call it anything. It's not meanness. It's just that you find a safety zone and you find a source of joy that is really, really particular to you. Don't rely on anything. That's my child. So what? The child is an adult. The child decide to go. You've put them in the path of righteousness, in the right path, and they see you do it. You went through a whole series of horrific situation. You didn't kill yourself. You keep pushing. You keep going. So what is it that is happened to them that is that bad? They can't share with you, and they have to go. And the men, you might bring a wife to a Western world, and then the
But
wife
the
decides
wives also bring the men.
the wife. But today we're talking about the statistics of the men, like three, five times more, and nobody hears about it. And Mimi, you and I, we have boys, we have guests. We don't want anybody, any one of them, to result into this situation. So let us also be very sensitive and try our best, because sometimes parents or wife, or they're not a husband, whatever, people around you are not sensitive to your situation. Stay with them. Don't judge them. If they speak, listen. They might be talking to you several times, like repeated, same thing over and over. As a nurse, maybe that's helping us, helping me. I will listen to you. Just keep talking. I will listen. Just listen to your people, because if you're not listening, what they're going to do is they're going to end it anyway. But next week, hopefully, we will get Miss Greatness, because she's talking to some people at this time. We don't know if they are able to articulate the cause of their own decision that is making them to do this. But let us keep talking, find a support base, get counseling. Don't say, I don't know if the pastor is bad. Even some people say even the pastor is going through their own stress. Don't worry, it's a different stress. You share and see if they listen to you with this one. Go to your doctor. GP in Western world, in Australia, that way Australia in terms of medical setting is the best in the world. I reckon, it's one of the best, not the best, because we have all these Switzerland and wherever, but we have access to the doctors and you can go to your GP in any state whatsoever. You don't need to have particular doctors. So you can go anywhere in Australia and access a doctor and share your situation. They will help you. They are trained in a way to help you like that. But we've talked a little bit about this and we have gone over time just because we started to talk about our own yabby yabby. But I hope people will listen to some of the things that we said, and they will act, they will do something. Even if they insult you, try your best. And I mean, you have tried your best. That's all we're just going to share today. It's heavy. We don't know the answer, but we know some of the things that you could do to prevent you getting there. It might help. Those things might help. That's what we just want to say. But we're going to say goodbye for now, and we see you next week. Prof, you mentioned something that triggers something in me,
Oh,
which I will talk to you after the show. It's going to be another topic. It's a big topic because it's going on around us right now. But
let me
thank you.
add a sentence just to
Yes,
say to people, life is worth living.
thank you.
Life is good.
LG is what you make of it. Anyway, we're going to have to go now. See you next week. Bye, everyone. Ta ta.